A very good afternoon and welcome to Monday Motivation with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. The show has been produced by Maria Sangaras, and she is in the comments right now as one of my moderators. We do this every single Monday between 3:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. live on TikTok. And then you can do the catch up on YouTube and IGTV by looking for Influencer SA. So, Eugene, what are we speaking about today?
Today we're speaking about dealing with misunderstanding. And
Yeah.
this is really important, especially because I misunderstood Sunil yesterday and got today wrong. So, dealing with misunderstandings.
And we're going to speak about dealing with misunderstandings straight after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Monday Motivation with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. Today, the topic that we are speaking about is dealing with misunderstandings. I have got tons and tons of notes in front of me to make sure that I don't misunderstand the notes provided by our producer. But, Eugene, what do you have to say?
Well, with misunderstanding, this can be in so many different forms, yeah, whether that is in business relationships, in anything, but how misunderstanding something can completely get it wrong. You can completely get it wrong in so many, and it can cause so much damage. And yeah, that's the thing about misunderstandings. Like, if you don't get it, if you misunderstand from the beginning, you get it wrong off the bat. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you get it wrong off the bat and you just leave it, then the misunderstanding grows and grows and grows and has the potential to ruin relationships, business relationships, personal relationships, friendships. But if you have something to say, you need to be realizing that you are the one that has to say it. It's up to you if there is a misunderstanding. And don't get us wrong. We're not saying that you have to explain yourself to people, because you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. But when it comes to a misunderstanding, you must ensure that the person you are speaking to understands your message. There was a quote that I read where it says, "It's best to understand in order to be understood." It's a very deep quote, which we can unpack at a later stage, but it's best to understand before you want to be understood. So, for an example, and we'll come back to this later, you need to ask questions to see if what you want to be understood is being understood. So, if the intended message or what you've done or your actions you've taken is being understood by the person or people around you.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So very, very, very nicely provided by our producer Maria are 5 steps to handle misunderstandings. And I think we can jump straight into that before anybody misunderstands what we're speaking about. But it is about misunderstandings. And there are 5 crucial steps which have been highlighted. And I think, Eugene, you can start with point number 1 for us.
Sure. So point number one is ask permission to discuss a situation or topic, a situation. Ask permission. That way, it's easy to, like, if you don't ask permission, if you ask permission, you can get someone's approval to actually discuss, because sometimes they might not want to discuss this right here, right now. Sometimes it will be something that, okay, let me just prepare myself, blah, blah, and then have notes so that they are more prepared in that situation. So ask permission to discuss a situation.
Yeah, and also asking permission to discuss a situation is almost a form of respect, because you're not just jumping on top of them. So that's really important. And also, when it comes to respect, ask, and this point number 2, ask questions, but really listen to the answers you're getting when you ask the questions about the misunderstanding. But you also need to acknowledge that the person or people you're speaking to, their reality may not be exactly what your reality is. It may be different to what yours is at the time. So you don't go in thinking, I am right all the time. Because the fact of the matter is that you may not be right. You may not be right. You need to
Definitely.
understand that. If you think that you are right all the time and they are wrong all the time, it's going to get you nowhere. So ask questions and really listen to the answers of the questions around the misunderstanding.
Definitely. Point number 3 would be find the source of the misunderstanding and try and correct it. Like by asking the questions, you might realize, oh, actually, their perception is this. Can I correct it? Or are they correct? Do I need to correct mine? But by asking questions, you're able to get to the actual problem that's where the misunderstanding is based on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Sometimes we just have to have a word or a sentence, or even like body language. Sometimes people misunderstand what you're trying to say by your body language. Yes, some people can read into things. You know, that whole situation where first impressions last sort of thing. When we look at someone, they might do something, you're like, okay, well, they didn't like that. But they might have seen something else that they did. So body language, ask questions. If you ask questions, you're going to correct that actual misunderstanding. You're going to get to a solution to that problem.
So, finding the source of the misunderstanding and asking the correct questions, as we've mentioned, provides a form of communication. So that was point number 3. Point number 4, I think is so crucial, especially because everybody reacts and behaves differently when it comes to things like a misunderstanding. And sometimes the ego comes into play. But make sure, check that there is an understanding that has been reached. When emotions are involved, you need to make sure the emotions are dealt with as well. Now, the emotion's severity, the how intense these emotions are going to be, really depends on who is involved. And the way you solve that is by asking, again, coming back to point number 2, asking the questions to confirm that you have the same understanding of the misunderstanding. It's so, so important. That's point number 4.
Point number 5 is confirm that the misunderstanding is now in the past and move forward. Now, this is really important because sometimes you might think you've come to a conclusion. Your misunderstanding is like, okay, we've sorted it out. They understand where I'm coming from, and they're sitting there going, but he's still. So making sure that you both actually confirming and acknowledging that you have both agree that this has been sorted out, you both understand, and then moving on. Otherwise, later on, you start like, oh, but remember, move on. That's in the past. Move forward. So that would be point number 5, would be confirm that the misunderstanding is in the past and move forward.
Exactly. And this comes right down to something which we speak about a lot, which is healing. Because if you don't fully understand and confirm it, then it's something else that needs to be dealt with. So let's just recap those 5 steps to handle misunderstandings, because we're going to speak about how to make amends in a moment. But 5 steps to handle the misunderstandings. Point number 1, as Eugene said, is ask permission to discuss the situation.
Point
Point
number
number
2 is ask
yeah.
questions and really listen to the answers. This is an
Point number
important
very,
step here.
very, very important one. Point number 3, find the source of the misunderstanding.
Point number 4, check that the misunderstanding has been reached and the emotions have been dealt with.
Another very, very important one. Point number 5, confirm that there is an understanding and that it's been sorted and move forward. 5 simple steps to help you handle misunderstandings. But now, what happens when there is a misunderstanding. Today, people really lack a means to resolve conflict because we never really taught how to do it. And that's why everybody reacts in so many different ways. And unfortunately, some people can react violently, or they'll get like really aggro and they start like screaming because they don't want to see other people's perspectives. So this brings us to the next portion of today's Monday motivation, which is dealing with misunderstandings. How do you make amends? We're going to mention 7 different ways. Some of them tie up nicely with each other. But the first one, I would like to just really, really emphasize. Really, really emphasize. It's something we've spoken about before, and that is embracing the triggers of your misunderstanding. This is about creating awareness, and awareness is a gift. The moment you start gaining awareness, it is a gift so that you can progress and grow. It is where the psychological world is brought into our consciousness. It's where we can start dealing with things. And it comes back to what we spoke about earlier: healing, analyzing. Are you shifting the blame? Why are you shifting the blame? It forces you to become aware and also self-reflect. I mean, analysis really allows the unearthing or the embracing of a hidden power to resolve not only your inner conflict, your inner triggers, but it may bring to surface what needs to be healed. If people are misunderstanding you at all times, it is shining light on what needs to be triggered and healed. And that's point number 1.
So this is where our misunderstanding came in. I had prepared nicely for all 5 points in the beginning, but not so nicely for the 7 amendments. But your emotions. Point number 2 would be your emotions. Yeah, your emotions can portray so much about how you truly feel. And dealing with this, especially with some misunderstandings, because sometimes we can perceive this to be what has happened, but it's not happened, but it hurts because this is what we perceived it to be. And dealing with that, dealing with your emotions, like, because you got to remember, this can cause various things from depression to feeling emotionally abused because you've just misunderstood the situation. So keeping your emotions in check definitely would be working on your emotions, would definitely be something I would say with more experience. It's going to, I don't know how to word this properly, but you've got to keep your emotions in check in everything you do, in everything. Because in a misunderstanding, it's not just yourself that's misunderstanding, but someone else is now misunderstanding, and then emotions flare up, and then what do you have? Like, keeping that in check is important.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Exactly like the comment says here, not having control over your emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
A big
And
factor.
like Hellenic God says, yeah, shifting of blame sometimes is an emotional response as well. And like our producer Maria says here, the wrong words can cause misunderstandings, and that can trigger other emotions, which takes us straight to point number 3: forgiveness. Very closely tied up to what we've spoken about in making amends already. We need to understand that we all have triggers. We all have triggers. I can be the most intense master Reiki practitioner on the planet, but I will still have triggers. Eugene can be the most well-rounded entrepreneur on the planet, but he will have triggers. Acknowledging those triggers and understanding that we need to fix these triggers and that they exist. Also have sympathy enough to forgive when there is a misunderstanding. Sympathy and empathy is lacking so much in this world we are living right now. It is really sad. At the same time, when we have a trigger or when we trigger somebody else off, we need to give them the space to identify that and fight their own demons. It's unfortunate that not everybody will want to fight their demons, but it's good to know that those demons exist. Acknowledge them. Coming right back to the first point, the gift of awareness. And you can just hope and pray that you or the other person realizes the mistake or the misunderstanding which is happening. It is so important. Forgiveness is not about forgetting, it's about acknowledging, dealing, and healing. Identify the triggers.
Definitely.
That's point number 3.
Point number 4 is aim to understand each other, talk to each other, ask questions. This is such a vital point. Like, vital. Like, how often, like, okay, I know I'm quite bad with this where people will talk and then I like have something to say. But if you actually want to listen to what someone's saying, listen to them. Actually acknowledge that you are listening to everything they say, because then you are going to understand them better. If you don't understand something, ask them questions. They might have information that you never know that you need. Like, just by one day saying something, you're like, wait a minute, and by asking questions, you know what I mean? So this is a very, very important one. Like, aim to understand each other.
Yeah, and closely linked to that, it would be point number 5, which is also linked to point number 2, which is again about validating the emotions, but not just about your own emotions. This is also about allowing other people to feel without shaming them. Oh, something which was mentioned by Lyd earlier is about judgment, people judging each other. Don't shame another person. And as our producer says here, communication is the key to prevent misunderstandings. If you're communicating, don't judge a person. I'm not going to judge Eugene for the way he feels about my beard, or the way I feel about his beard, or the way I feel about his business decisions, because at the end of the day, it is your choices. And it comes right back to what we speak about a lot. It is about awareness of the self as well. We must remember, if you are shaming somebody, it may actually, again, be a trigger of something within you that actually needs to be healed and dealt with. I've had the phone hung up on me so many times because I trigger something. And then they'll call back and apologize. Or I had somebody speak to me 5 years down the line saying, you know what you said to me about getting a driver's license really triggered something off, and it helped me really understand what you were trying to do. That was a misunderstanding from 5 years ago. So allowing them that space to feel without shaming them. It's hard because we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it's natural to react. But once you've acknowledged it and you become, again, aware of what you're doing, it really allows them to feel for themselves if they want to. That is point number
Definitely.
5.
And then point number 6 would be acknowledge the differences. Give people the room that their point of view counts. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I think we overlook this quite a lot in society, where a lot of the times it's our point of view, and but allowing them their differences in point of view. You might see black, they might see white. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be able to just, and not everyone's going to be able to, like, agree on one thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
if everyone agreed on one thing, where would we be in life? Like, so allowing people to have their differences and actually allowing them to have it. Like, a lot of people don't actually do that. Like, yes, he can have his point of view. Oh, did you hear? He says this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's his point of
Exactly.
like. So yeah, definitely accommodate for their differences.
All right. That was point number 6. Point number 7 is to talk about the misunderstanding and what happened. Sometimes you think something has been dealt with and it hasn't been dealt with. It hasn't been understood. You have yay sayers. What do they call them? Yes men. Yes, yes, yes. But there is no yes. They don't understand. So you need to make sure that there is a true understanding about what's happened and that everybody or every person is on the same page, very much on the same page. If they're not, it gives you an opportunity to iron out the differences and also to reach a common resolution. Again, it's coming right back to awareness and making sure everybody is on the same page. So, Eugene, I think at that point we can do a quick recap of the amends because that was 7 points for the amends. Point number 1, embrace the triggers. Embrace the triggers is point number 1.
Point number 2, validate your emotions.
Absolutely. Point number 3, forgiveness. Learn how to forgive. Point number 3 is forgiveness.
Point number 4 is aim to understand each other, one another.
Point number 5, coming right back to point number 2, validating the emotions, but not of yourself, but of the other person without shaming them.
And then also validate the differences. Everyone's going to have a different opinion.
That's point number 6, is accommodate the differences. Point number 7, talk about what happened to be on the same page. So those are the 7 ways in which to make amends. And I think on that note, Eugene, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Sunny Motive, written by Sunil Osman, uses and explains motivational quotes to encourage readers of all ages to take bold steps in life, love, and business. Order your copy now by emailing Lauren Moy Publishing on sales@laurenmoypublishing.com. Also available on takealot.com and amazon.com. Welcome back to Monday Motivation with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. If you've just come in, this is live on TikTok every Monday between 3:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. If you've missed the topics, you can catch up on YouTube and IGTV by looking for Influence SA. This show has been produced by Maria Singaris. Conclusion for today's topic, which is dealing with misunderstandings. Eugene.
Misunderstandings are always caused by poor communication and poor understanding. So,
absolutely. But talking to each other and asking the right questions provides an understanding for you to understand the intentions of the other party and the other person. I think that's a very good conclusion on how to deal with misunderstandings. So we do thank everybody for joining us for Monday Motivation. The topic today was dealing with misunderstandings. Our next topic, how to control anger and patience. How to control anger and patience. We thank you very much for joining us for our Monday Motivations today. Sending lots of love and light to everybody. Don't have misunderstandings. Clarity and communication is important. Love and light.
Have a good day, guys.